thank you for joining us. This is Liza Ryan on Community Matters, and today we're meeting with two of the Young Southeast Asian Leadership Initiative participants from the East-West Center. Welcome so much.
Hi, thank you.
And today we have Christian with us in Ines.
Ines.
And Christian from Mindanao in the Philippines and Indonesia, Ines from Indonesia. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And right now you are at the East-West Center for a 5-week-long program sponsored by the State Department and the Study of the U.S. Institutes?
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how are you enjoying your time so far?
For me personally, I really enjoy all of things because I really find that this program is really useful, not only for my personal, but also for my community back home. There is a lot of things that I learn, and I hope I can implement soon in my country.
Now, this program is specifically focused on environmental issues right now. So you guys are pretty young. You're in college right now.
Yeah.
And Christian at Mindanao State University and Ines at Padjajaran University. And what are you studying, Christian?
I am currently incoming fourth year. In my university, I will be fourth year taking up Bachelor's in Science in Marine Biology at Mindanao State University.
Oh, excellent. And you, Ines?
I'm currently studying soil science in Faculty of Agriculture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the YSEALI is geared at taking students from all over Southeast Asia, from young professionals and college students, and focusing on discovering different aspects to sustainability and kind of regional responses to environmental concerns. What made this program interesting to you? Why did you apply? There were lots of people that applied, and obviously you were chosen.
Yeah.
So what was it that drew you to this program?
For me, because this is an environmental institute, so I'm really passionate about environmental issues, and especially in Indonesia, we've seen a lot of environmental problems, and also in agricultural sectors that I'm going to deal with in the next few years. So I think that by joining this program, I can learn a lot, and I hope I can make a change. Yeah.
And for you, Christian?
Yeah, I decided to apply for this program primarily because as me being in touch with the environment as my course as what my course is. Also, one thing I really like with this program is that young leaders from Southeast Asia would come as one to manage with regards to sustainability of how are we going to address some issues regarding with environment. And as me as an aspirant to change, to make not really change, but to aspire for some actions, better actions, and later on I could apply this back in my country.
Yeah, so what does this program look like here then? You've been in Hawaii now 2 weeks, going on 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're off to Boulder, Colorado, and after that to DC.
Yeah.
So why those 3 cities?
Because in every city there is a lot of things that we can take away to our country. In Hawaii, we see a lot of environmental practices that really good and well managed, and especially also in Boulder, in Colorado, there is a lot of environmental movements. And in DC, we are going to present our home country project that we are going to propose.
Okay. So here, where have you gone to so far in Hawaii?
We've been to a lot of places, and it's really amazing that, like the Kualua Ranch, Ailani Palace, and there's a lot of places that we went also. And that was really amazing it's amazing for us because it includes, being with those places, we learn something, and then, but of course, the learning is there also. So it's a matter of fun and learning. So that's really, that's amazing.
Now, you were saying earlier that you got to go on a cruise through Waikiki on the water.
Exactly.
Yeah. But both of you come from areas close to the ocean. Do you see a difference in the ocean here in Hawaii and the ocean around where you're from?
I would like to answer that question.
Marine biologist.
Yeah, of course. Because back in the Philippines, if I'm going to compare the ocean here in Hawaii, it's really totally blue. And I was fascinated by, wow, why is it blue? Why? I mean, back in my country, it's not that blue. Of course, we have our ocean is blue, but as for to Hawaii, it's just that even though in you're just in a shallow area, it's really blue, perfectly blue, and that's amazing for me.
Yeah, and I guess then you know, having some dive experience, being able to see a different variety of fish here, and the way that Hawaii incorporates some of our indigenous culture into the preservation of the ocean. Did that make you think differently about the way that the Philippines pursues, because there are many indigenous communities as well in Mindanao and in the Philippines?
As for the moment, our country is still battling regarding with those protected areas, and I'm hoping that in the near future that the marine protected areas would be large in numbers. So I'm looking forward for that.
So what are these now? Now each of you are both working on, have done a lot of different programs. For you, Christian, the Ambassador of Goodwill in American Field Service Japan, and the East Asia Network for Exchange Students for Youth in Japan. And now you're a volunteer with Greenpeace International.
Exactly. So, in June 2014, the European Union issued a yellow card to my country, which is Philippines, regarding with not fighting sufficiently with regards to unsustainable fishing, and that means that the European Union, as the world's biggest fish importer of the world, will close its market to the Philippines to any illegally caught fishing products. So that Philippines as an archipelagic country, and we have a very long coastline and we depend on it. So that means it's a big downfall for our country's economic status if the European Union will close its market. So as a marine biologist and as an ocean defender, I volunteered to one organization, which is Greenpeace Philippines, and we have series of trainings, exchanges of ideas that leads us to the assessment of juvenile tuna deployed in our local fish ports, deployed by the different fishing vessels. That's our major action regarding with the concern with the aftermath. So in this year, 23rd of April, if I'm not mistaken, the result was published, and of course we are lucky because the European Union lifted up the warning to the Philippines, my country, regarding with this aftermath. So it's really it's good for me to feel that I'm part of the success and I'm one of the members of the working team.
Now that's a major issue, and we'll get back to those issues of overfishing. I want to talk a little bit about that more. But for you, Ines, you've been working on agrotechnology and as a consultant for the non-governmental organization for young leaders for Indonesia. Now, and you have a small project called AgroClinics. What is that about?
So this is my initiative actually because I see in my surrounding, in Jatinangor area, there is a lot of agricultural practices that are not really environmental friendly. And what make it worse is like this farming practices is badly trying to damage the environments because the farmers tend to put a lot of fertilizers. They are using a lot of pesticides in a not very wise doses. So what I'm trying to do with my community is by giving a free consultations and free training for these farmers, so they can know how to do the farming practices that are sustainable and also environmental friendly.
Now, what is that? What do you mean when you say sustainability? What types of, first of all, what kind of crops are being grown in your area?
It's more like sweet potatoes and all the horticultural products, such as vegetables.
Okay, and that is causing soil degradation?
Yeah, because of the intensive fertilizer implementations.
Okay, now what type of, now say you go onto a farm,
Yep.
and how large are these farms? Are these big farms? You know, in Hawaii, and in the United States, we have sometimes very large farms. How are these family farms?
It's like a smallholder farmers because in Indonesia, the land ownerships mostly is not really as big as in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's like a smallholder farmers.
So then, how able are these small landowners? Is it economic for them to switch to sustainable farming?
Firstly, it was hard to say, like they are not even motivated to do the sustainable practices because it requires a lot of time, requires a lot of energy to use, for example, like biofertilizer and so on. But eventually, because of our hard work and our commitment to push these farmers to do these sustainable practices, they can actually learn and gain more profit.
Okay. So how are you pushing them? I'm going to push you a little bit.
Yeah.
How are you pushing them?
Not push actually. It's just like giving them motivations and giving them understanding about what will happen to your land if you keep putting a lot of fertilizer, all these chemicals, and that's not really good for our environments. Not even for environment, even for you as human who apply all of these chemicals.
Do you have any teaching materials that
Yep.
you're showing them?
Yeah.
And have you helped develop these, or are they a part of your organization?
I collaborate with some organizations
Okay.
that are able to do the socializations.
Okay. And now, did you come from a farming community yourself?
No.
No. So
No.
then, why are you interested in farming?
Because for me, agriculture is very important since human cannot live without foods, and agriculture is the only sector that can feed the world. So I think like we need to concern more about farming, and yeah, that's how I believe.
And how does your family feel about your passion to change farming in Indonesia?
Sometimes my dad get really sad because he actually want me to be an engineer. But I give the understanding on how this is my choice and I need to live my choice. Yeah.
So what do you hope to learn during this program? What do you think it's going to help you with in the future?
I learned about social project management in here, and also how I'm going to improve my leadership skills, because in this project I'm the leader, and I hope that by joining this program I can improve not only my personal skills but also improving the project itself.
And for you, Christian, you know, again, so many times our passions come out of some family experience. Did you grow up near the ocean, or?
Yeah, that's why I got excited about marine biology, since I live near the ocean, and to be specific, my father is a fisherman. That's why I got this interest regarding with marine organisms and marine environment.
Okay. And then, but that's, you know, sometimes on the fishing issue and overfishing and a marine biologist, those can be on different sides.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So how does your father feel about this, or how does your family feel about your passions?
For that, not really, it's not a big issue regarding with my family, because it's not really a big fishing industry for my family. It's just a small one, so a small scale fishing products. So nothing to do with those issues. So
Okay.
regarding with the unsustainable fishing, that would something to do with the big vessels that would caught those organisms which are not supposed to be there.
Okay. And so what are some of those organisms that there are, or plants, or I guess animals that they're catching that they shouldn't be catching?
Such for an example, for the big fishing industries. So they have this nets, and for example, big Thonos albacaris. Thonos stands for yellowfin tuna, and like for example, there would be in the catch there are small or juvenile yellowfin tuna. So those organisms should not be there. It should just be the mature one. Yeah. So those ones.
So during this time, so you're going to be here for another week or so, and you're working on projects as a team. How big is your cohort? How big is your group?
So we consist of 20 young leaders.
20 young leaders coming from different countries of ASEAN.
Yeah. So what countries are you represented right now?
I'm Indonesia,
And I'm from Philippines.
And the Philippines, and you have Malaysia.
Yeah.
Malaysia, Brunei, and Singapore.
Okay. And have you noticed that you have very different opinions on some of these issues?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, there are things which are different from how we perceive things are,
Yeah.
and there are things also that we just look at the same perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we can talk a little bit about that when we get back from a break here. So far, you're watching Liza Ryan on Community Matters, and we're talking with young Southeast Asian leaders.
Aloha, my name is Miley Scarpino, and I'm the host of the Empower Hour. If you're interested in health, nutrition, fitness, here on the island of Oahu, want to learn more about places to train at or different trainers available, then watch my show on Fridays at 3. We have a great time, and I hope that you'll come join us. Much aloha. Now go get swole.
To Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy on Wednesday. And we have Sharon Moriwaki, my co-host and co-chair of the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. And we have Warren Bohlmeyer today, a special guest with the Hawaii Renewable Energy Alliance, and also a member of the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum.
In fact, he's our Renewable Energy Working Group Chair. So
He
takes care of all of our...
You ought to see him in song and dance, too. He does the musical part of the show. Sharon is more serious than that, but not much more serious. So anyway, what do you think of this show? I mean, is this good?
I think this is good. We hope it's good. We hope it attracts a lot more people than our forum, so that people can see what's going on in energy and clean energy, and call in, write in, tweet
We
or
want
Twitter.
that. We want public engagement, civic engagement from everybody, because that's the only way we're going to get down the road on this, right, Warren?
Yeah, I think so, and it's an opportunity for guys like me to share a little bit of their mana'o and sometimes get the facts right. Who was that guy that said, just give me the facts, you know, start with the facts and then work from there? Oh, it was Dragnet guy, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Jack
That was when I was
That's
just
them.
I was just
I
in
would
grade
all
school then. I
remember that.
barely
I was
remember
like,
that.
yeah.
shit.
Just the facts,
Just the
man.
facts.
Here on Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy, every Wednesday from 4 to 5. You'll see. Come back soon. Right, Sharon?
Great.
Warren?
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. This is Liza Ryan on Community Matters, and today we're talking with young Southeast Asian leaders from the East-West Center here on a program discussing environmental issues in your countries. And so thank you, Christian, and you're from Mindanao in the Philippines and joining us, and Ines from Indonesia. And we were talking a little bit more about why you were interested first in agrotechnology and then marine biology, and some of the problems that your country is facing in those areas. Now, in this program, in the YSEALI, you are also working with other members of ASEAN, so other countries from Southeast Asia. Do you think that what is the benefit of working together? Why come from Brunei, Malaysia, Philippines, and Indonesia? You know, would it be better just to work with other Indonesians?
For me to face a global problem, especially in Asian region, we need a wider perspective, and these young students from all over Asian countries give me a lot of perspective that are really different with me. Like this different perspective can lead me to a wider understanding, and how I'm trying to maybe shift a little thing about my perspective, and it gives me a lot of perspective and understanding.
Also, it is good to hear how does the other young leaders from other countries in ASEAN respond to these environmental issues. For example, us in the Philippines, we have this kind of structure in how we are going to respond in a certain environmental issues. Also, it is good to know how does the Indonesian would like to respond to those specific actions with regards to environmental issues, and the other participating countries like Malaysia, Brunei, and Singapore.
Yeah, and these are issues, you know, things like the burning in Indonesia, some of the forest that was burning, and the smoke going into other countries. Oftentimes there are issues that are regional and not just national, that can cause tensions in between your countries, whether that's fishing rights or you know, whose sovereignty rights on which islands and these things. Is this something that you feel you're able to talk about with the other participants?
We have talked about, like, for example, the borderline issues, the maritime issues. It is good to hear as well that the Indonesia's like what they are because we have these territories, and we're claiming this, for example, the Spratly Islands, and there's a lot of countries to claiming that specific island. And also, like, it's better to hear that what are the reasons why Indonesians would like to claim this one, and other, like Malaysians and Brunei.
And do you find the answers that you get from your the other participants different than what you hear in your news?
Yeah, it's interesting to know that there is a lot of different facts and different perspectives toward these issues.
And during this program, you are also learning about the United States and its environmental past, present, and future. What are some things that you have learned there? Have you been surprised by any of the things that you have learned?
Yeah, sure. It's pretty surprising for me because so in this program, the cohort is divided into 4 different groups, and each group has a different topic that they need to learn, and they need every group needs to present a problem-based learning workshops, so everyone in the cohort can learn about every topics. And we are actually in the same group, and we are all,
So we are done with our workshop, so that's really good. And we studied about the market revolution and conservation era of America's environmental history. So we're done facilitating the workshop and the evening event as well, and the learning journey, and that brought us to the realization that America is really good. I mean, we really learn a lot regarding with Americas and different time histories.
Okay, and seeing the progression of the United States on environmental issues. Do you think that, where does your countries fall when you look at the U.S. and its timeline and how it's taking on different issues? Do you think that your countries are also somewhere on that line? Are they moving forward, backwards? Are they staying still?
For Indonesia, it's quite diverse because when we are talking about environments, it's a very wide issues, right? Maybe at some point Indonesia is left behind, but in another sectors, for example, Indonesia is still pursuing the way for a betterment. But yeah, it's interesting to know on how America trying to protect the environment since the earlier history.
The early stage.
Yeah, and both of you come from countries that are nations made out of islands.
Yeah.
And here you are on an island again. Now, do you think that more than just the difference, learning about the U.S., is there something specific about being in Hawaii that is analogous or similar to your countries in some ways?
I guess the temperature,
The weather.
because we're in the tropics, right? A tropical region, so I guess the weather is quite the same.
And in Hawaii, there's the political conversation around environment and sustainability is very different than it is on the mainland. And we're also very much concerned about issues of overfishing and the high price of goods and bringing in goods and our agricultural land and the pressure of tourism on there. Now, do you think that as island states and nations that there's something to be learned from each other on that?
I guess the program like YSEALI and our program is one of the solution regarding this aftermath, because like it is better to know what's the stand of one country to other country, and it's good to hear and consolidate ideas. That's why programs like this YSEALI is really a good solution regarding with those.
It really helps for
really
us
helps.
to understand.
Now, when you go back, you'll also be finishing university soon here, and you're looking to continue on with programs back in your home countries. What are those programs?
For me, I'm going to, maybe back after this program, I'm going to first improving my current project that I'm currently doing. And the next step is I'm going to finish my study, and then I'm going to continue my study, maybe in
Masters?
Yeah, my masters on an agriculture, and probably work in international organizations such as FIO.
Okay. A few, Christian?
Yeah, maybe after graduating, I want to touch with another program like something to do with risk reduction management back in the Philippines, because like young people in my countries don't have this enough awareness regarding with risk management. That's why I'm planning to do this kind of project back in the Philippines.
So like recycling and reduce, reuse?
Like the risk management, or like something to do with disaster. Like, so natural disaster calamities, how we're going to respond to this kind of after Mac.
Yeah, both of your countries have experienced. I mean, maybe you were
Yeah.
you were quite young in 2004
Yeah.
when
The tsunami.
when the tsunami
Yeah.
hit, and but recently with the hurricane
Yeah.
and how do you feel your country has responded? Have they taken enough initiative in disaster management?
For Indonesia, I think yeah, Indonesia is still on the progress to manage the disaster managements.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think that the problem in Indonesia is most like the people awareness itself on how the people, the way they think, on how they need to concern on these things, and yeah, it's probably the mindset of the people.
Now, touching on that, what do you see as the major issues in succeeding in these areas? Where do you think you're going to have to push back or around or above or under people on these topics? Is it mainly political, or is it people themselves and changing their ideas?
I guess it starts from ourselves,
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
to be concerned of what is happening in our environment and try to respond like how you're going to perceive this kind of issue, and it's up to you how you're going to respond regarding with your knowledge that you gain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, specifically in the area of, in the Philippines and Mindanao. Now, Mindanao has experienced a lot of violence for many decades and has a lot of other issues going on, and has not always done well economically. Fishing is a large part of their economy, correct?
Exactly.
So how do you motivate and change people's perspective when fishing is so much a part of the way that they support themselves and their family?
For me, it's like literacy could be one, like to educate people if how important our resources could be. Maybe that could be one of the steps for them to be more aware regarding of this issue. For example, I don't know something regarding with this fishing issue. So for them to be to be more aware is to show them how important this natural resources is.
And part of that is understanding different ways that catches and fish populations can be managed, correct?
Exactly.
Having quotas so that you can allow fish populations to breed, so that fishermen can actually, catch more fish later on.
Yeah.
Because this seems to be one of this is both, I'm most aware of it in the Philippines, but it's possible that it could most likely exist also in
Yeah.
Indonesia, of fishermen having to go out further and further
Yeah.
and use more and more drastic methods to catch fish.
Yeah.
And that can result in, loss of life of fishermen who, for example, these big nets that they put out that, young men dive into the ocean and are down there for a very long time and then and dive very, very deep and then come up too quickly. Like in scuba diving, if you come too quickly and you get the bends in your joints. These issues, along with the, depleting the oceans around you, that they all affect, not only your families, but will be the future of the families that you will have.
Yeah.
And now, when you head off to DC, what is the purpose there? Is it to look more at policy and?
Yeah. I think it's more like understanding on how American trying to create certain policies that are really impactful to the future of these nations.
And also, we're going when we are in the DC at the District of Columbia. We're there to propose our program to the senators.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay. So this is we're just practicing right here then.
Yeah.
And learning.
And learning before you get up there, practice your speech a little bit.
Yeah.
And so as we close this session, what has changed for you? How have you changed in the last 3 weeks?
The most important thing that has been changed is the way I think. Like on how I try to be more open, and I'm exercising my curiosity, because I think that's really good for me to make myself understand more on certain topics, and it really improve also my leadership skills and my communication skills during this program, because we're working in the multicultural atmosphere, and the communication skill is very important.
And just to add that as well, this program has proven that for me, environment is of great help in many more ways than one, extending its reach to the boundaries of economic, policy enactment, and proper governance. It has proven itself to be one of the inseparable entity that could make for us as a working place for humans.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Christian and Ines,
Yeah,
for joining
thank
us.
you,
We're going to be having a few more of your participants up later, but I so appreciate your contributions and all the hard work
Yeah.
you're putting into this program.
Yep.
Thank you so much. This is Liza Ryan, and when we come back, we'll be talking with two more participants from the Young Southeast Asian Leadership Initiative at the East-West Center.
Hi, I'm Jay Fidel. I'm host of Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy, which is our flagship show, which plays 4 to 5 p.m. every Wednesday. And the supporters of that show are Hawaii Energy Policy Forum and Hawaii Energy. And luckily enough, we have representatives of both of them right here today to tell you more about what they think about the show. Sharon Moriwaki at my left is co-chair of Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, and she goes first. Sharon?
Thank you. Thank you, Jay. I'm so glad that we have this Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy. This was 2 years ago when we started this, and we have continued it because it's so important, and there's so many developments happening across the state. And we hope you'll tune in every Wednesday, 4 to 5. It's wonderful.
And Ray is Hawaii Energy. Ray, what is your thought about the same subject?
Well, I agree completely with Sharon that we are talking about every Wednesday, 4 to 5. We talk about the most important subjects that are affecting the islands now and into the future. Energy, clean energy, we need it. We often run into new ideas that we had not thought about before. We did just today, and I think we're going to have more of that in the future. So come on down and watch us 4 to 5 on Wednesdays, and we'll see what happens.
We'll see you then. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha, I'm Hunter Hevelin, host of Sustainable Hawaii here at ThinkTech Hawaii. You can tune in every week on Thursday at 2 p.m. to see interviews with sustainability professionals from around the state and even further abroad, learning about activities with water management, food security, waste management, and a whole host of other fascinating opportunities to get engaged with making a greener island. So if you're interested in making the transition from consuming individuals to communities of producers, check us out every Thursday. Aloha.
Hi, I'm Jay Fidel. I'm the host of the SOEST Hour, which is on Monday from 1 to 2 p.m. every Monday. SOEST stands, of course, for the School of Ocean and Earth Science and Technology at UH Manoa. We talk to faculty there, we talk to researchers there, we talk to students and graduate students there, and we talk to people who are related in one way or the other scientifically to that school. Check us out, 1 to 2 p.m. every Monday. I'm Jay Fidel. I'll see you there. Aloha.
Thank you for joining us again. This is Liza Ryan on Community Matters with ThinkTech Hawaii. And today we're talking with participants from the Young Southeast Asian Leadership Initiative at the East-West Center. Welcome.
Hi.
And today we have Kelly Cheng from Malaysia and Mac Florendo from the Philippines joining us. Welcome.
Thank you.
So right now you are like Ines and Christian. You are here for the last 3 weeks and then headed off to Colorado and DC. Now, what was it that brought you both to this program? Now, you're a little bit different than the last two. You're still studying, and Kelly at the Taylor's University at Lakeside campus in Malaysia, studying broadcasting and journalism, and then you, Mac, are studying mass communication at the Silliman University in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So what was it that brought you? You know, the last two are a marine biologist and another one in agrotechnology. Now you guys have a little bit different focus. What are you gaining and why did you decide to come on this program? Maybe Mac first.
So I developed an interest in the environment when I joined a mountaineering club last year.
Okay.
So that was one thing that made me join this program. And another thing is that after this program, I'm going back to my home country and continue my studies. And I'll be taking up a environmental journalism subject which is rare in the Philippines because my university is the only university that offers that subject in, nationally.
Wow.
So I'm looking forward to, share my experiences here to that class.
You're gonna have a corner on the market then. And for you, Kelly?
Yeah, I'm interested in storytelling and like how Ines and Christian they are doing all this field work on how to improve the environment in their countries, and I'm interested in bridging the gap between the research and also raising awareness among people. You need to have a combination between science and also the public to actively participate in environmental conservation, and I aim to be that person that bridge that gap. So I'm interested in doing documentary filmmaking, and I joined this program in order to understand the current problem that we have in our environment and the ways to solve it. So that will be my material to do my future projects.
Now, as I was asking Ines and Christian, was there something that in your background that brought you to both wanting to study communication, journalism, broadcasting, and then also the environment? Or was it a problem that you saw in the areas that you're living that you've decided that you felt passionate about?
I believe it was the problem and the opportunity that led us here. So like in my community, like, we have a movement to actually inform, educate people, and to create awareness of the things happening in the community. So like for that problem, like it made me join this program so I could, make use also of my major of like, disseminating this information to the public. And I took this opportunity to learn more, as well as, getting all the techniques to provide people the information they need.
And for me is, first of all, I like storytelling. So I'm interested in journalism and also anything that to do with movies and TV. But also, I'm also driven by the problems that I have back in my country. We have, for me, that affect me the most are two, which is haze and water shortage. So I wanted to play an active role in how to solve these issues instead of just ranting in Facebook or whatever. So that's why I joined this program, to learn how I can take a more leadership role.
So, okay, so haze, now we have something kind of similar here. Have you guys seen that? The fog, which is our kind of like a volcanic ash that creates a haze and some respiratory issues here. What is the haze caused in Malaysia from?
The haze is actually coming from Indonesia. That was burning. There's a burning issue in Indonesia, and the wind blows the smoke to Malaysia and Singapore, and we suffer that every year. So that really brings a lot of frustration to me. Yeah.
So how has it been now discussing with your Indonesian counterparts as a part of the YSEALI? Have you been able to share your frustration?
I have, and it's nice to get a different perspective besides just watching it in the news. I wanted to know from other people just like me and how they feel about it, and how we can collaborate in order to solve this issue.
Now, what do you see as, now we already talked to Christian about his area in Mindanao, but specifically in Silliman, in this area, what do you see as the major environmental issues, Mac?
For my community, it's the problem that we have currently is that we have a energy corporation in that community where they plant their geothermal development in a mountain, and that mountain is what we care the most. Like, because I'm part of a mountaineering club, it's the mountain that we really cared for, and that's the mountain that represented our city, which is Dumaguete City, and like that mountain is rich for biodiversities and endemic trees and animals. And my goal here, as a YSEALI participant, is that, and as a mass communication and a mountaineer, my role here is to inform the people of what's happening, educate them, like the biodiversities and the current issues, and and I hopefully spark a action to this issue. And it's because like the problem here is that the corporation plus the Department of Natural Resource in my community is that they had a big mistake or like a failure in informing the public about their project, which is really, it can be shameful, and yeah, it creates a bigger gap between them and the people, the concerned citizens. So, yeah.
Now, have you seen, it's interesting, it's always interesting to be a part of an international cohort like this and working with other participants. And as you said, some of Malaysia's, major issues are coming not from within Malaysia itself, but outside of the country. Have you seen that there has been, differences in opinion or how others in ASEAN think about the Philippines or they think about Malaysia? And have you been able to shed light and say, maybe this isn't true, that, this is what my country is like? How have you seen that happen in this group so far?
Because I also took this opportunity to share about what Philippines is really is. It's and like for them, like they're Malaysians. Like I've never met Malaysians before, so this is like an opportunity.
It's the same for me as well. I've never met any Filipinos.
Really?
So we come here as representatives and ambassadors of our own countries.
And what are some of the major stereotypes that you feel like you have to overcome from your country?
Well, for me, I didn't know that there is a big population of Muslims as well in the Philippines. It has never occurred to me at all. And so now it sheds a new light to me on how really diverse ASEAN region is.
And how about for you, Mac?
When I met Malaysians and the other guys, like I could really tell the diversity of ASEAN, and I think there's a big reason why it's like that, and like what we can make use of that.
And that's kind of, that though that is not the focus of this particular program, that's part of the richness that comes from an intercultural experience in this way. And then what about is this your first time to the United States, both of you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And I mean, obviously you're just in Hawaii so far, and you're going to expand your experience to Boulder, Colorado, and Washington, D.C., which are going to feel totally different than Hawaii, which may feel maybe a little bit more like home. By the time you get to the end, it will feel very, very different. What are some of the stereotypes that you had of the U.S. or Hawaii in particular? Have some of those changed, or?
Yeah, so much. Because Hawaii has been it has been portrayed as how it was portrayed in movies, like Halloween, like the hula girls, and and like we've been through we have like discussions on American history, including Hawaiian history, and actually last weekend we had our homestay. We had our respective homestay families, and like my host dad actually brought us to the Polynesian Cultural Center, and so I learned so much of the Pacific and Hawaii and what Hawaii really is.
Yeah. And how about for you, Kelly?
For me, I didn't know that Hawaii was an independent kingdom before, and so as I came here, I learned more about the indigenous Hawaiians and their way of life and the way they manage themselves in the Ahupua'a, and just really fascinating on how rich the indigenous knowledge is.
And for both of you coming from Chinese Malaysian background and the Philippines, Hawaii also has large populations of Chinese and Filipinos.
Exactly.
Were you surprised?
Not really.
Not really. Like, I've heard the stories about that. So.
Yeah, and there are Chinese people everywhere in the world, so I'm not surprised.
Well, we are excited to hear back from you at the end of your program and all that you're learning, and hope that you take some of these messages and back to your home countries and share them, and that we can all work together to create a more sustainable environment, sustainable oceans.
Yeah.
Thank you again for joining us. This has been Liza Ryan on Community Matters with ThinkTech Hawaii, and talking with participants from the East West Center's Young Southeast Asian Youth Leadership Program.